Happy Friday, and in this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast, me and James, we are going to share our thoughts on some of the top prospects and teams we are going to be watching this weekend, where we're going to share our thoughts on VJ Edgecombe, Baylor versus Arkansas, the BYU freshman, Derik Queen. Can he possibly have another 2020 game? And then Kansas versus North Carolina. Stay tuned. Big shout out to each and every person that has made the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Rafael Barlowe, along with my co-host, who just happens to be my brother, James. And this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to win $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. And I want to mention that your favorite Locked On podcast has a newsletter. So check it out at lockedondaily.com. So sign up for free at lockedondaily.com, and you can start your day with the free Locked On newsletter covering your favorite team. And if you are not subscribed to the YouTube channel, I have no idea what is taking so long. Please subscribe, like, share, comment, click the bell, so you can be notified every time we drop an episode, because we're coming at you 5 days a week at the very minimum. And on a day like today, you're going to get 2, possibly even 3 episodes. All right, James.
Yeah.
Get right to it. This is the first weekend of college basketball. Most teams have played one game already. And this weekend, we're going to actually start seeing some competitive games. I mean, there are going to be some schools that are going to dominate some outmatched opponents. I think Duke is playing like Army, but we have Baylor versus Arkansas, North Carolina versus Kansas. But let's start off with Baylor versus Arkansas. So for me, the number one game I'm going to be paying attention to this weekend is this game, which is in Dallas. I'm going to try to see if I can sneak in there. But you got Baylor versus Arkansas, quite a few storylines. But the number one storyline for me in this game is VJ Edgecombe. You got to bounce back. That was a very rough outing against Gonzaga. But one thing I will say about Baylor, they didn't start the season with some cupcakes. They didn't come into the season just trying to, get a couple practice games. They came out with a tough schedule. What are your thoughts on Baylor's schedule first?
Man, I appreciate Baylor for playing people with numbers next to them early. I was looking at the schedule and prep for this podcast, and I'm like, Team X is a 25-point favorite over this directional school. Team Y is a 28-point favorite over HBCU. No disrespect to any schools, but it's like, I don't know, man. Let's start off the season with a bang. Let's start off the season with a test. So shout out to Baylor and the other school. I think Houston and Auburn play each other this weekend. So let's get right to it, college basketball.
I disagree, because the smaller schools need those money games. They need those games to fund their programs. Especially
I'm not saying don't have them. I'm saying let's sprinkle those in game 3, game 4. If I was a coach, I want to be battle tested day 1, right? Or even VJ Edgecombe. If I'm a
coach, I'm gonna use these money schools to figure out my lineup, and then maybe game 4 or 5 we're going to play. I mean, that just makes sense from the fan perspective. Of course, I want to see what Baylor's doing.
But what do you learn though? What do you learn beating a team by 30 points that you're overmatched, that you came here to cut a check to? I don't think you're learning. You can play low major, you can play quality low major, quality mid-major teams and figure it out. But some of these teams, they're gonna beat by you're winning games by 70. What did I learn if we won by 70? I didn't learn anything. I'm just saying, and to bring this back home, VJ Edgecombe, they got slapped by a ranked team in Gonzaga, right? He knows that, okay, this is what it takes. This is high-level college basketball. I have to get an opportunity, I have to be better. And luckily for him and Baylor, the next opportunity just happens to be tomorrow against another ranked team, Arkansas. So you get to find out what he's made of, what the team is made of, and then you go from there. Had they played I don't know, whatever team, state, Southwestern Community College, it won by 80, and VJ Edgecombe scores 20, and then they come back and play Gonzaga and you score 4, then you're like, oh shoot.
Well, if that's the case, you don't even want them on your schedule, period, then.
I mean, you do need tune-ups, but I just want to get right to it.
That's from the coach's perspective. You need to tune up. Some guys may look good in practice, and then once the lights are on, they don't do anything. So I figure like you want to have at least get a few wins under your belt before you for the big test, see what your rotations are, see who plays well together, and then you have the big test. But from a fan perspective, of course, I want to see Baylor, Arkansas, North Carolina, Kansas. I want to see Power 4, Power 5 schools match up against each other early. But back to VJ Edgecombe. He was 2 for 11 from the floor, and Baylor lost by like almost 40. I'm just going to round it up to 40, 101-63. He has to have a bounce back game. He is a player that is consistently ranked as a top 5 pick on the majority of big boards, mock drafts I've seen, and NBA scouts that I have spoken to. A lot of people see him as safe, but I feel like in that Baylor game, in the Gonzaga game, don't necessarily want to overreact, but I'm just going to share my thoughts and opinions. He didn't look like he could handle the ball. How do you think he's going to fare against Arkansas?
Against Arkansas, again, it's another test. Maybe you had a bad night. I know that was a road game. This is a road game too. It's a neutral site. But I think that VJ Edgecombe is the guy that you put next to the guy, but he still needs to show that, because in the NBA, the guy is going to have off games. You need to be that complementary piece that's going to be really good, but you have to show that at this level. So I think he has another opportunity to prove himself. Arkansas didn't look good in their game that they won. So it's like, this is not the same level team as Gonzaga, right? So you get Arkansas, you still got guys who have, Boogie Fland is a projected first round pick. We believe the big is a first round pick. The guy off the bench, what's his name? A dude, Tiro?
Yeah.
He looks like a supreme athlete. It's just another opportunity to prove yourself. Guys are going to have bad games. So, like, I really want to see VJ Edgecombe bounce back. What's a bounce back game look like? At least get me 16. Show me that you can put the ball on the ground. Show me that you can be effective and that you can influence the game.
Yeah, another thing I want to see is Boogie Fland. I talked about it on the episode yesterday. I've never seen a guy shoot 17 pull-up jumpers in one game. He was it was 15. 4 for 15 on pull-up jumpers, just pull-up jumpers.
I think he passed up 4 or 5 catch and shoot threes, and he can shoot like really well. At least in theory, he can shoot. So like for him to pass up, he's a jump shooter. I told you before, I think he's Mo Williams 2.0, right? Yeah. I expect him to get up a bunch of jump shots. I don't want to see him pass up catch and shoot jump shots to shoot pull-up jump shots in guys' faces. I don't care how good of a shooter you are. Like, the percentages go down when they're highly contested. So I really want to see what he looks like. The film didn't look good. I still see the talent. I still like him. Like I said, I think that's Mo Williams 2.0. I just don't want to see him or really guys pass up open catch and shoot threes. But really, I want to see, I believe he took 17 or 18 shots. And DJ Wagner, I think, took 7 or 8 shots. Like, I want to see the shot. I want to see how the shots are dispersed in this next game too. Because if I'm DJ, I'm like, man, I followed you out here. I mean, we talked about this, Rob. But I followed you out here, and I'm a corner boy. Nah.
No, he wasn't though. He just can't make shots. He shot an air ball in the corner. Yeah. And I mentioned in the last episode, it didn't count on the stat sheet, but there was a play where Ivisic set a screen. I think they called a moving screen, and DJ pulled up from 3 at the top of the key and hit nothing but backboard. So can he shoot better? I don't know. I mean, he's someone that I don't have him in my top 100 prospects right now. And of course that could change, but I definitely want to see what he looks like, because I think if he has another game similar to the first game, I think the whispers and I don't even know if they're going to be whispers anymore. People are going to really start loudly, questioning, Is he a legitimate NBA prospect? And then if the guys behind him, whether it's Carter Knox or Billy Richmond, are playing better, is it going to be similar to last year where you're like, DJ, it might be time to come off that bench, but will Cal do it?
Also, Cal, look, man, the offense doesn't look good. And
but they can't shoot. They can't
shoot, right? But it looks like my turn, your turn, my turn, your turn, like every Kentucky team looked like in the past. And then you saw Kentucky again. I know they didn't play anybody with a name, but they put up like 100. Like the ball was moving, the offense was great. I think Cal got to look at himself in the mirror, man. Figure out recruiting isn't the issue, but we got to like put something behind the recruiting.
I mean, it's hard for a guy to change his stripes when I think he's the most active, the most winningest active coach. He's a Hall of Famer, but they can't shoot. I think they were like 4 for 18 on 3. Baylor can't shoot either. Baylor, well, based off of one game, I should say. I don't want to necessarily say that they can't shoot, but Baylor as a team was 3 for 21 from 3. So we got to hope that it doesn't look like a brick fest between two teams.
Bricks in the city.
All right, when we return, we have quite a bit to talk about. We're going to talk about Derik Queen. Well, he had a 2020 game. Can he repeat that? We're going to talk about Kasparas Jakucionis. And then we're going to talk about the BYU freshman and then Kansas versus North Carolina. But before we get into the second segment, let's talk about Prize Picks. I know James is a huge Prize Picks fan. And with Prize Picks, you can now win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports. And it's in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. And Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform that has an insurance policy. So your lineups stay in play. Even if one of your players gets injured and he leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks will keep your lineup. And Prize Picks is also the best place to get real money on sports action. You can join over 10 million users and sign up today. Prize Picks also invented Flex Play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. And what I really like about Prize Picks is that it now offers Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your accounts this season. So go to prizepicks.com. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, you can get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Get ready to tackle NFL action with FanDuel, which happens to be America's #1 sports book, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, and it is all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more. And it is on the same page where you place your bets. So visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. All right, second segment, Derik Queen, a guy James is very, very high on. I was looking at my big board that I released the second half of it. I think I'm going to push it back to maybe Monday. And I have Queen in like my top 35. My concerns are not on the offensive end. My concerns are, can he anchor a defense, and can he protect the paint, and how well is he going to space the floor?
He had 3 stocks last game.
But remember, you were the one that was saying, you're playing these schools and you're blowing these guys out. So 2020 is impressive. What can he do for an encore, in your opinion?
2020 again. I don't want to say he can't do it again, but I want to see him show the playmaking that he does have. So if he's a 20-15-4 next game, which is very possible, I'm telling you, man, that's the one right there, Rob. He may not be able to anchor defense, but he has offensive anchoring talent.
You think he can anchor an offense in the NBA?
I think he has the potential to be able to anchor an offense. If you feel like Şengün anchors that offense, I think Derik Queen can anchor an offense in the NBA.
Any concerns about the ability to defend in space? And
it's hard to defend in space. Whether the only person who can defend in space, Wemby, Anthony Davis, like that's two guys. Rudy Gobert, defensive player of the year, I think 4 times over. He has his moments where it's hard to defend in space. You're always going to put a big in pick and roll. As long as he's got active hands, like perfect example. And I'm not saying he's Jokic. I don't want to get out of here. I saw Lou Williams had to apologize for saying Cat was better than Jokic, and then Jokic put up video game numbers. I don't want to say he's Jokic. But Jokic is 7 feet in space, right? He's got very active hands. And that win against Oklahoma City the other night, he pickpocketed Shai Gilgeous. Now, I expect Queen not to block every shot, but be big in space, yes, and have active hands down low in passing lane. That's what Jokic does well. That's why, his at the rim defensive numbers aren't great, but he is not a liability on defense. I mean, if he was, you don't win championships. You don't make it that far if you're a liability on defense, in my opinion. So if I'm Derik Queen's people, I'm watching Jokic's hands in space. He gets a hand in every pocket pass. He's there, right? He can contest just enough. Again, you're never going to be Gobert, but be big, be 7 feet. I think Queen is 6'10". Be 6'10" when it counts.
You think he's going to measure 6'10" at the combine?
We'll have to wait and see, man. They said my man Rob Dillingham was 5'10", and he didn't measure out at 5'10".
But he wasn't listed at 5'10", though. I'm just saying, like, Derik Queen, do you think he is going to measure out at 6'10" when he gets to the combine?
Şengün measured out at 6'9" at the combine.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Yes or no? So, you think he's going to measure at 6'10"?
I think so. And if he's 6'9", he's fine. If he's 6'7", all right, we got an issue. But if he's 6'9" with a +4 wingspan, I have no issues.
All right. The next player that I want to talk about, I don't know if you're going to see another 2020 game from a high-level prospect this year, but the player that I think could be the first prospect to post a triple-double is Kasparas Jakucionis. I had to practice saying that. He finished with 11 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists. I've been watching him play overseas for the past couple of years. He is a triple-double threat every time he touches the floor. I want to see if he can post a triple-double or near triple-double against SIU Edwardsville.
I was ready to ask you what SIU E, but you figured out Edwardsville.
I had to, because at first I was like, SIU, okay, yeah, that's Southern Illinois. Where does that E come from? So Southern Illinois, Edwardsville, one of those schools that James doesn't think that team should play early in the season. So I want to see if he can put up a triple-double or near triple-double. Yeah, he had a quietly good game against Eastern Illinois. He was 3 or 4 from the floor. He missed his first shot, so he made his next 3, and he was 1 of 2 from deep. Finished with 11 points, like I said, 7 assists, 5 rebounds, and he did that in 25 minutes. And so I'm just curious to see if he can put up good numbers, or at least a near triple-double, because I think he's going to be someone this year. I wouldn't be surprised. He averages 11 to 12 points per game, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. Do you think those numbers with efficiency could put him in the lottery discussion?
Yeah, I think he is going to be in I guess you could say, a battle, or he'll be compared to Ben Serif because they were similar size, big point guards that can pass and make plays. But, I'm going to push back. I think Egor Demin is going to get a triple-double for Kasparas does. He finished with 18, 11, and 4, and he's 6'9".
Yeah.
So I think he's going to get the first triple-double. But I do think Jakucionis does have the ability to, because he has the ball in his hands. They've given him the keys, and he did all that in, 29 mintes?
25.
I think he has 25, and, they're playing Southern Illinois University, Evansville.
Edwardsville,
excuse me. So he's going to have opportunities as long as they keep playing these teams that We have to look up these acronyms.
Edwardsville.
Edwardsville.
All right, when we return, we're going to talk about Egor, Demin, and what can he do? I mean, he was pretty much outside of, I'd say, Ryan Kalkbrenner. He was pretty much the talk of college basketball, at least from the scouting world this week. But let's see what James's thoughts on him and Kanon Catchings and see what they can do in their game too. All right, before we get into the last segment, I want to talk about our new sponsor, which is Skims. Now, I first heard of Skims because of Kim Kardashian, and I mentioned in previous episodes that I didn't know Skims made anything for men until they had a rollout during March Madness. So I went online and I checked some of the reviews. So I'm going to read a review from a person that has bought Skims. This is a review. In high school, I was a boxers guy. In college, I switched to boxer briefs. But until now, I've never been a briefs guy before. Once I tried Skims, I don't think there's any going back. They're sleek, they're lightweight, and super comfortable. It almost feels like you're wearing nothing at all, but I'm kept fully secure when it matters the most. Trust me, when it comes to underwear, I've now tried them all, and Skims is the best to do it. Now, that is a real review. So, if you want to feel like you're freeballing, you got to check out Skims. Go to skims.com for men. Let them know that we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. And if you are looking for the perfect gift for the whole family, Skims just launched their biggest holiday shop ever, which is also at skims.com. All right, last segment. Egor, I keep wanting to call him Egor. Egor Demin.
Is Egor?
Egor, yeah. I was speaking to him over text, and I told him, like, hey man, you made a genius decision to go to BYU.
Listen,
and he was
I tell the youngsters, hopefully the youngsters listen. Go to a school that's gonna give you the keys. Yo, every clip, every possession, he had the ball in his hands and he got full reign to go be himself, go prove. Like, he probably, again, it was one game, but let's just say on the average mock, he was like 12th. He went probably from 12th to 4th, all because he got the opportunity to show exactly who he is, and he made the right choice to go. He went to a power, whatever number it is, school. They gave him the keys. And look at you. Look, he made himself so much money, man.
Well, put it like this. Speaking of money, I feel like NIL and money is basically a factor in where guys are going to school, and it may not be the best fit. But I'm just tell you what Egor said to me. He says, me and my family went through a lot of work to make the right decision. We spent so much time thinking about every single detail. And based off of one game, it looks like it's going to pay off. But we talked about this back in like August that we thought going to BYU was the best fit. Now, there's some other prospects. I can't say that I agree with the choice where they went to school at, but I think that Egor's in an ideal situation. But I want to see what he does in his second game playing against, was it Cal Riverside? Cal Riverside. All right, what are your numbers that you think that he'll put up?
I'm gonna go. Shoot, they got shooters. I'm gonna go 17, 6, and 9 against Cal Riverside. Also, shout out to Kanon Catchings because he made a smart choice too to go to BYU. I'm gonna just be real with you. You know, BYU, they only have a handful of people that look like me and you there. So he made the business decision to say, you know what, I'm going to maybe sacrifice whatever most high school kids choose to go to college for, you know, the party life, this, that, and the other. Like, he's like, I'm here to do a job. I'm here to be a professional basketball player one day. And he's putting himself in position to do so. We saw him at OTE at the All-Star game or All-Star weekend, and he was an athlete. He shot 11 threes last game. He blocking shots. Listen, it looks like he already has chemistry with Demin. If I'm him, I'm like, listen, all I got to do is continue to make these threes. He needs to get on the glass more because he's too athletic, too long to grab only 3 rebounds. But if he's 3-and-D, rebounding, being an athlete, I think he has a chance to put himself in as a first-round pick at the end of the season. Like, look at what Jalen – I'm not saying he's the Jalen Wells shooter, but, like, look at what Jalen Wells did. Like, he went from D2 to D1 to starting, all because he made the right choice, found the right fit. I think Kanon Catchings has an opportunity to make a name for himself because, A, he's playing with a top 5 pick probably. He's going to have every opportunity to be great.
Yeah, I mean, he's in a good situation because he has a playmaker that is going to get him the ball. To me, that is very key, especially if you're I feel like if you're a 3-and-D floor spacer or you're a big, you need to go somewhere where you have a playmaker that is going to get you the ball. Now, it's easier said than done. There are a lot of combo guards playing college basketball that are point guards, that are shoot first, that don't pass. But with Catchings, he's in a good situation because he has Egor, who is going to find him, and he's in a situation that you don't normally find with college players where you have to have your hands ready at all times. Like when you go to the NBA and you hear people say it, man, I got traded to the Hawks, or I got traded to the Clippers, or I play with LeBron or Luka, and I realize I have to keep my hands ready and my head up at all times because they can find me when it doesn't look like they see me. And Catchings is in a similar situation. I think Egor is that good of a passer. Again, I'll admit my concern with Egor coming into the season was I wanted to see if he can show that he is a point guard. I knew he could pass, but I wanted to see if he could show that he is a point guard and not like a secondary ball handler, small forward.
Well, However, go ahead.
This, at the very minimum, he shows that he is going to be a plus level secondary ball handler if he's not going to be a full-time point guard at the next level.
Yeah, I have no issues with him being a secondary ball handler because, I mean, I don't want to make the European comparison, but like what was Hedo Turkoglu those years in Orlando, right? Like they did have point guards, Jameer Nelson handled the ball, Rafael Austin handled the ball, but late in the game, it was Turkoglu and Dwight Howard. In whatever position Turkoglu, 3-5, 4-5 pick and roll, big wing pick and roll. I feel like that's what Egor can become. My issues with him was the jump shot it looked good. And also I do think his handle could be a little bit tighter because, I mean, he is 6'9" and that ball does get a little wide. But again, that's expected when you're that tall. But being able to finish and being able to consistently knock down jumpers, but he's taking – and this is what I like about him. He's not just a tall dude that can pass. Like, he's out there trying to score. So if they go underneath the screens, he's shooting the ball. Now you're keeping the defense honest, and you're not just playing in Catching's case, you're not playing with a 6'1" pass first point guard who the defense doesn't respect. And, like, now a coach has to draw up all these plays for him because he can't score. Like, now you're playing with a guy that's 6'9" that can score, and he's keeping the defense off balance because he might shoot it. He might pass. He might finish at the basket. So BYU is going to be fun to watch. Their coach figured it out. I got some guys. This is how we're going to play. We're going to play spaced out basketball. I really want to keep an eye out on this team.
Yeah, it is the perfect year for BYU basketball to be. Not saying that they weren't exciting last year, but I think this year there's going to be a lot of eyes on BYU because they have 2 potential first-round prospects. And it is the perfect time to have all eyes on BYU when you have AJ Dybantsa, who just happens to be in state, and has BYU listed as one of the schools that he's strongly considering. So it's just a perfect storm for
everybody. Everyone.
For the state of Utah, I mean, the Utah Jazz are going to be bad, so the state of Utah needs some good basketball to cheer for this year. All right, let's wrap it up with Kansas and North Carolina, 2 of the more storied programs in college basketball. For Kansas, I want to see, does anyone emerge as a potential first-round pick? I don't have anybody from Kansas in my top 30 right now. And honestly, I don't have anyone from Kansas in my top 50 right now. North Carolina, has two prospects that I think can be first round picks, but I want to know how much are they going to play. And it's very early, so this comment could end up biting me in the butt down the road. But I'm not.
Skins on though, so you should be straight.
But they feel like nothing. I feel like Drake, Powell, and Ian Jackson are not in the best situation to showcase themselves as NBA prospects.
And on top of that, the guys at Kansas who are probably borderline second round picks, AJ Storr, Griffin, Zeke Mayo,
Hey, I like Zeke Mayo. He had a good game.
Listen, I like Zeke Mayo too, but I really like guys when they have every opportunity to showcase what they can do. So, I mean, they Kansas's guys, North Carolina's guys, even Arkansas's guys are like the opposite of what BYU is. At least as far as like having a chance to showcase, having a chance to impress scouts, having a chance to affect winning every single night. Like those guys are in a completely different situation. Like I like Drake Powell going into the draft, but I mean, what is he gonna do?
Yep. Well, we'll see. So yeah, that's a game I'm looking forward to seeing. Like which prospect from Kansas emerges as their best NBA prospect. If you have an idea, let us know in the YouTube comments, and then also talk about North Carolina. You can tell us before the game or after the game, but who do you think is their best NBA prospect? Well, once again, this is a fun episode with my brother James, and we want to let you know your favorite podcast covering your favorite team on the Locked On Network now has a newsletter. Check it out at lockedondaily.com, and you can start your day with the all-new and free Locked On newsletter covering your favorite teams. So whether it's Locked On Jazz, Bulls, Lakers, you can get it delivered right to your inbox. And thank you for making the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. Stay tuned for part 2, where we share our thoughts on the weekend watch list. And we're out.